I know I make a lot of wrong decisions, especially when I'm scared, but here's me firing off shitty idea numero uno. I was definitely questioning my own sanity as I started to breathe normally. I desperately asked over and over again, why? Why me? Why the hell me? I'm sure my downstairs neighbors heard it, but I was so freaked out I didn't care. At this point in time, I wasn't even trying to be quiet. I was running around the apartment looking under and over anything and everything, just trying to find something, some rational explanation for what just happened. Then I looked at the time and realized that I had only slept about 4 hours, and that is definitely not enough sleep, but manageable, or slightly manageable. I wished it was closer to the time that I had to work because I did not want to be in this apartment. I especially did not want to be there alone. I don't give a crap if that sounds weird or silly because that nightmare I had was more than just a nightmare. To me, it felt real. The whole situation felt absolutely real, and not a single fiber of who I am wanted to be there by myself. But here I am with only 4 hours of sleep, and I definitely did not want to try to lay down and get more sleep, even though I could tell I probably needed it. The worst part is that I realized I wasn't going to be able to see Melissa for potentially another 2 whole days, and I didn't have very many options of places where I could go. All of my immediate family has either passed away or moved out of state. Plus, how would I explain this to any of my friends? They would probably just laugh at me and tell me I'm overreacting, when I feel the way that I'm reacting is completely consistent with what the hell just happened. It felt completely hopeless. How am I going to get through the next 2 days if this happens, let alone the night? All I knew at that moment was I just wanted to be out of that apartment. Thankfully, the gym that I have a membership to is one of those 24-hour joints, so I just packed up my things and went to the gym. I immediately felt better, but I had this icky feeling the entire time I was there. I doubled up on pre-workout because I most definitely was not even going to try to get sleep after what happened. And can you blame me? I probably spent over 2 hours at the gym dreading the fact that I had to go back to that apartment. Quite honestly, I didn't even want to be in the driveway, so I took my time driving slowly through town. But now I was checking the mirror during the daytime, checking to see if she was behind me. It was a little bit after 6 a.m. and I didn't have to be to work until 1 p.m. That's another 5 or 6 hours before I had to be anywhere or do anything. I'm on high alert as I pull into the driveway, scanning everything with my eyes and taking my time to get in through the screen door, making sure that there was nothing on either side of me. I slowly walked my way to the set of stairs that led up to my apartment. When I got to the door and unlocked it, it just took me a couple of extra seconds trying to talk myself into turning the knob and getting inside. I took a deep breath in, turned the handle, and opened the door as quickly as I could and shut it right behind me, looking from side to side, making sure that woman or whatever the hell that was not there. When I'm feeling nervous or anxious, I'm one of those people who constantly paces back and forth, looking up YouTube videos to see if anybody else is dealing with something like this. All I kept running into were these stupid stories of haunted homes or things that didn't even sound like what was going on with me. Like, is this possibly some form of sleep paralysis? I knew about what it was beforehand, but this time I was able to get up and move, even if I was just sitting in my bed. Plus, there was no old hag sitting on my chest suffocating me. I couldn't even see her facial features, just this black emptiness. I was getting creeped out just thinking about how she sounded. And again, she touched me with her hands as if I were some kind of doll or plaything. Whatever it was, or whoever it was, had to be pure evil. I hadn't told Melissa yet about my nightmares, but at this moment, I desperately wanted to just talk to her about it. But we hadn't had hardly any time to speak on the phone because our schedules were so different, and she was definitely asleep right now. I didn't want to send her a text and have her worry or lose sleep over what I had going on. Plus, she wouldn't even see the text until she got up, which would be hours from now. All I knew was that she would be one of the only people that I could explain this to without somebody treating me like I was stupid. I also didn't need friends or coworkers talking about me behind my back right now. I just wanted to feel safe somewhere. I was getting frustrated after finding no real answers. People were just telling me to light sage and do all this hippy dippy stuff that I didn't believe in. Yes, I go to to church, and yes, I believe in God, but I didn't want anything to do with any of that weird tarot card stuff, or have someone like Melissa's aunt come over and try to communicate with this thing. I didn't want it to be part of my life. So why is it part of my life now? Well, on the plus side, I had more than enough time to get everything ready well before I had to be at work. I was stocked up by the time I was done. I was still checking in all directions and behind things as I was nervously pacing, watching YouTube videos, trying to occupy my mind. I decided to leave for work early, but during the drive, I was checking my mirrors, looking all around just to make sure that there was nothing there. I felt a little better once I was at work, but not by much. I decided to keep my headphones in just so I could turn up the volume and try and drown out my thoughts. But no matter what I did or how much I tried to occupy myself, the whole situation just kept creeping its way back in over and over. And honestly, how could it not? I mean, seriously, just think about it. How the hell would that affect you or anybody else? Even though the place that I work in is not the happiest environment, it's basically a hot-ass warehouse filled with roughnecks doing the same crap. Nobody's happy to be here. I wasn't either, but this felt like one of those only safe places that I could go. Now, I was actually dreading that it was coming close to where I had to punch out. I didn't say much to anybody, and I definitely did not bring up anything that was going on outside of work. I just kept to myself. I was messaging Melissa on and off, but it was just filled with the same I love you cutesy crap that we typically do with the little free time that we had at the moment. As I walked outside and headed towards the car, the thoughts and fears just started to creep in a little worse as each second and each step went by. With a lot of hesitation, I started the car and made the long drive home. My paranoia had just gotten worse, and I had that feeling as if she was sitting in the back seat staring at me through the rearview mirror, or that she was somehow attached to the side or top of the car. Look, I can already hear it now that I'm just paranoid or crazy, but those were my real thoughts in that moment. Like, this wasn't a physical thing that I could just call on the phone or meet in person. This was something that I couldn't see while I was awake that tormented me when I was sleeping, even though I could swear it was not a dream, because dreams don't always make sense, or they're silly, and even the worst nightmares that I've had before were easy to distinguish between a dream, nightmare, or reality, but not this, not at all. So you can think what you want, I don't care, but to me, it was real, and it scared me to my absolute core. Again, when I rolled into my driveway, it was pitch dark. The moon was out, and I just felt like she was somewhere watching me, waiting for me, like some kind of slow cooking meal in the oven, waiting for the timer to go down so she could devour me and all of my fears whole. I'll admit, I must have looked like a crazy person to my neighbors if they were looking out the windows as I checked side to side, around the doors. While I walked up the stairs to my apartment, I made sure that all the shades were shut because I was leaving on more lights than I did last time. Even though the lights were annoying, they still gave me a lot more comfort than the darkness. But even with these things to comfort me, I was still alone. I did not want to be alone. No, not at all. Her face, or lack thereof, and those goddamn hands touching me made every inch of my skin crawl. For the first time in my life, I was scared to take my sleeping medication. My entire life, I've had insomnia. I guess I never napped, or that's what my mom and aunt told me. But when you're a kid, you don't have any responsibilities, so none of this stuff bothered me until I started to become an adult and had to work. It was only then I realized how much it sucked getting 2 hours of sleep every night. I remember it being such a relief when they finally found the right medication to knock me out, because in actuality, I had never known what a full night's sleep even felt like. But now, my hand was trembling as I was holding the prescription, looking at the bottle, knowing that this could be just like last night, or even worse. I needed the sleep because there was no way I could do the job that I do with Jack for sleep. Screw it. I quickly opened the bottle, popped out what was considered to be a 2-night dose, and quickly swallowed it with a cup of milk, just thinking to myself, maybe this will make some kind of difference. I now had the kitchen light on, the bathroom light on, and the TV. God, my neighbors are probably going to think I'm just like the junkies who were squatting here before I moved in. Even though that thought crept into my mind, my fear was starting to conduct all of my actions like a puppeteer leading me into the abyss. I nervously prayed to God while my medication was taking its time to kick in. Please, God, please help me. Please keep this thing away from me, or her, or whatever it is. This evil thing away from me. I prayed over and over again until drowsiness started to take effect. And I could tell I was drifting off. There was nothing more I could do or pray for. I woke up again and quickly jumped out of my bed because it was still nighttime or early morning, however you look at it. My heart was now racing and I was panicking. My TV was off, but both the bathroom and the kitchen lights were on. Thank God. As I scrambled around my bed to get to the light switch, which was on the opposite end of the side that I jumped out of, I saw her floating there just a few feet from the window. The light from the bathroom was shining directly on half of her body. I could see much more of her this time. In the movies and cartoons, ghosts are always see-through. Not this one. It was as if a real burned corpse was brought back to life. The dress she had on was gray and white, nasty, worn, with many holes in it. Towards the ends where her feet were, it looked like hanging strings and rags. I don't know anything about dresses or any of that stuff, but it didn't look like it was something modern. And it wasn't because this demonic dead thing was wearing it. Her bony, contorted body looked like crushed charcoal that was glued or smeared on with thick chunks in all directions. Her hair looked wiry and hung down past her shoulders. It looked like her hair hadn't even been combed or washed in decades. But the one thing I still could not see at all was her face. Why could I not see her face? I just stood there like a deer in headlights, frozen in place. What was I going to do? What could I do? I stood there next to the light switch as she slowly drifted towards me. In my head, I kept telling myself, please wake up. Please, God, wake up. Please wake up. And while I was praying in my head to wake up, she started calling my name. I squeezed my eyes tightly closed, and now I was praying, wake up, wake up, wake up, saying it over and over again in my head. Then the sounds of her calling my name just stopped, and it was silent. You could hear a pin drop. I don't know how long I kept my eyes closed, but for me, it seemed like a very long time. I was so scared shitless, every part of me was shivering with fear. I know I make a lot of wrong decisions, especially when I'm scared, but here's me firing off shitty idea numero uno. I decided to quickly open my eyes. And then, suddenly, she was right there in my face like she had been before. But now her hands, her bony, disgusting, charred, elongated, cold, dead hands were wrapped around my neck. I could feel those bony fingers and those fingernails digging right into my throat, squeezing with this incredible strength. And let me explain something to you. The one place on my body that I hated more than anything to be touched was my neck. This took the fear I had and elevated it to a level which is completely unknown territory to me. I don't even know how to begin to describe it. I was trying so hard to scream for help as my esophagus started to get pinched. Even though I was trying to cry out as loudly as I could, nothing came out. Then she spoke to me in that low, raspy, sadistic, evil tone again.
I'm going to keep doing this to you every single night until you kill yourself. And then you will be mine, all mine.
But then I woke up. Hey guys, I just wanted to tell you I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this video. Like, comment, share, subscribe. It really helps me out. And again, this is my own personal story. This really happened to me. All I did was just change the names. So trust me when I say this, you're not going to want to miss part number 3. Love you guys.